everybody. Let's talk about identity. What do you identify with? Who do you think you are? All of us have an identity we choose to uphold. And the question is, does that identity increase your productivity or self-worth? Or does it decrease it? What do you identify with? This is a problem I've run into in the last few months because I made the mistake of identifying with what I produce. What do I mean by this? I identified with the job I have. So let's go into this. Let's get you guys an example. This is my life right here. I'm not talking about anything else but my personal experience. So I identified with being an excavator, or what I do most of the time. I spend 8 to 10 hours a day. I spent 8 to 10 hours a day digging out for foundation and backfilling and digging for underground utilities and that kind of stuff. I spent the vast majority of my time doing this, or the vast majority of my waking hours doing this. So by default, I started to identify with that. It became part of my identity because the ego likes to latch on to something. Our egos like they like some kind of box to put us in. The ego loves that. The ego loves to put up some kind of fence or boundary inside your consciousness to create an identity. Anyway, guys, I made the mistake of identifying with my job. And the reason it was a mistake is because another man, aka my boss, ultimately had control over that identity. So what happened to me is I ended up getting moved onto a different crew and doing entirely different work. So I got used to doing one thing and got pretty good at it. And then I got moved to another job doing concrete foundation. So it was the universe or God telling me to re-examine the foundation I've chosen to lay my life upon. And I realized I had a faulty foundation because I was identifying with the things I produce rather than God-given design or destiny. Guys, the moral of the story is you have to identify with God-given design or destiny, because you have to identify with something no other person has control over. You have to identify with something you control at all times. Don't make the mistake of identifying with a job or a worldly title. Identify with something transcendental, guys, because when you what you identify with controls your productivity. Your identity controls your productivity. I know it sounds kind of abstract, but just try to think about it. It's a self-evident statement I'm making. The thing you identify with, your consciousness or ego is going to work to uphold, almost on autopilot. So be careful what you identify with. Try your best to not identify with whatever job you have. Even though you spend most of your time doing it, you have to get to thinking outside of time. Because like I said on my other video, if you're living in time, or everything you do is dictated by time, you're just in an endless loop, or the Ouroboros, or the snake eating its tail. You don't want to be there. Trust me, guys, I know I'm young, but I've seen how far that rabbit hole goes, and you don't want to go there, because I made the mistake of doing that for really the last 10 years. I've been a laborer or whatever for almost 10 years now, and it's time to step up my game. It's time to change my identity. And from this point on, or from about a month ago, I refuse to identify with worldly titles, labels, or jobs. I now identify with purpose, because purpose is given by God, or whatever you want, whatever your theology is. It's not something another man can control. So you have to identify with purpose. Thank you.